16 questions, 4 passages. You really want to score well. Unicode is the first sort of cat which actually started going beyond articles and essays. 63% is logical. Everything you need is there in the passage. Hello, you are preparing for the CAT. You really want to do well in the CAT. You want to score really high, or whatever the target is. In the CAT, there are 3 sections: VARC, DLR, and QA. In VARC, you want to do well. In that particular section, there is reading comprehension. That's a key element. 16 questions, 4 passages. You really want to score well. I'm sure that you're preparing really hard. I'm a trainer. I have a course called VARC1000. I'm trying to train you. But you and me should know what the CAT is actually demanding. I mean, as a trainer, I should know. Every trainer should know. If someone is creating the content, the mock test, they should know. You should know. But how do we know? Is there any source from which I can understand what kind of passages, what genre, what style, what is the length, what is the demand, what kind of questions? Can we? Yes, there is. The actual CAT passages. We have access to that. So why don't we look at all those CAT passages in the past, pick data from it and try and make sense? We can do that. Let's do that. That's what I'm going to do in this video. What 9 years of CAT RC really tells us. So in this, we have those 9 years, 2017 to 2025. CAT released the paper, so it is available. We also know from 2015 to 2025, the IIMs that was conducting the CAT conducted the paper in rotation, starting in 2015, Ahmedabad, then Bangalore, then Lucknow, then Kolkata, then Kozhikode, then Indore, ABLCKI, then another ABLCK. So 2026 is likely going to be Indore. So what we have is 9 years of paper, 102 passages, 438 questions. Oh, let's try and make sense. But we must be careful because history may not repeat. CAT in 2026 can come in a complete new avatar. But history reveals some things. We can make some sense and ensure that our preparation is based on some understanding of what CAT is really testing us. That's something that we can do when the history is available. We should look at it, no? That's what I'm going to do. Right. Everything uncovered today. Everything that we will uncover today, in fact. We'll do 5 passage deep dive. The length, the genre, the style, the source, and the takeaway from all of that. We'll then do 3 question deep dive. The type of questions, the frequency of those questions. What's the takeaway? And try and make sense of all of this. If at all we can make any sense of these things. Let's start with the length. 102 passages. How long are these passages? Somebody will say CAT passages are sometimes long. Is it sometimes small, less? How many words are these passages? You look at all the passages. You see that the number is very close to 500 words. This has been consistent. So that's what's going to happen likely in 2026, 500 word passages. Now, what does 500 words mean? It's not huge. I mean, even if you read very slow, you're reading aloud to a grandma, grandpa, and your father and mother. They're all sitting there. You're reading this aloud. You will finish reading it in about 2.5 minutes. Yes, you do. Yes, you're taking more time now, probably because you're reading sentences twice. Maybe when you are in a particular question, you're coming back to the particular passage. But, I mean, it's just 500 words. So that's one. Now, if you look at genre, what kind of topic? Is it biology? Is it anthropology? Is it philosophy? Broadly, if you look at social sciences, humanities, and natural sciences, about 50% of the paper is social sciences. sociology, anthropology. I've counted economics here, archaeology, public policy maybe, things like those. Then you have humanities, philosophy, linguistics, history. Then you have natural sciences. A major chunk is based on social sciences. It kind of makes sense. Why that is? You know why? Because you're not expected to be an expert in any of these things. Right? If you deep dive into each of these passages, say for example natural sciences, all these passages are science for thinking people. These are not high-funda concepts. This is asking a simple question. There is a cuttlefish. How is able to camouflage? Penguin. Oh, they live in such cold climate. How are they able to retain heat? Elephant seals. Oh, it is talking. I think it is talking. In fact, out of the 15, I believe 13 has to do with some animal. And these are all written not by scholars, by science journalists. Not by scientists. Scientists put their research on a journal. A science journalist picks that and make it make sense to us. Even if you look at humanities, let's take philosophy itself. Right? There are about, I believe that out of this 36, the passages on philosophy, there'll be about 36 passages on humanities. There'll be about 7, 8 on philosophy. If you look at philosophy itself, this is not the philosophy that you think it is. I mean, these are philosophy that will make sense to us. AI and morality, for example. That's a philosophical discussion. None of these passages are looking at some very scholarly take on how epistemology helps us understand how knowledge is created. No, we won't find passages like those. Simple stuff. And even if you look at social sciences, it's about the world, not about theories. Death of shopping malls. Shopping malls died. What impact is going to happen to society? Streaming in society, choice fatigue. And if you look at all of this, every topic is for a thinking layperson, not a specialist. So that's good news. You might be uncomfortable with some of these areas. You might be saying that I don't like philosophy. But you don't have to be an expert in understanding any of these passages. No. Let's look at the style. Oh, before that, sorry. If you look at from 2017 to 2025, the share of social sciences, humanity, and natural sciences, more or less the same. So you could expect in 2026 anything. You cannot sit here and say, see, sir, I don't like philosophy, so I'm not going to do it. No. You can't do that. You have just 4 passages. You can't now decide that in this 4 passages, I'm going to choose subjects and all. In your preparation, you should be comfortable reading anything. And you don't have to be an expert, like I told you. Let's look at style. How are these passages written? There's an author writing it. Author has a purpose, a reason as to why author wrote some things. One type of passages are expository. You might call it fact-based, but expository is a better word. Somebody trying to explain something. A very neutral tone. Facts, processes, no opinions. You can't find the author there. Author doesn't share their opinion. Just describe something, explain certain things. Like your textbook. You don't see, when you read, for example, reading your textbook on second law of thermodynamics. You don't see the author saying, this second law of thermodynamics, stupid law. You don't find that author. Then you go one step, which is analytical. Oh, they're bringing it down. They are looking at the why of things, the how of things, analyzing a topic. Still neutral, but creating analysis. A phenomena happened. Why is that phenomena happening? Pros, cons, compare, contrast. Not merely explaining something, but going into the causal explanation. Maybe discussing the problem within something. That is analytical. And then you have these passages which are argumentative. Somebody is actually taken a side. He makes a claim, defends a side. presents counter arguments, attacks them. So there are three kinds of passages. And what do you find in the cat? 44% argumentative, 34% expository, 22% analytical. If you look at across the year, you can actually see from 2019 onwards, you start seeing these analytical passages popping up out of nowhere. Now, it is not that you should read these three different passages very differently. The way in which you read the passage one and the same, but how you take away information from the passage. What should I look at in argumentative passage? Or the author has taken a position. That will be important element of it. Analytical passages. How do we evaluate analytical passages? How we look at analytical passages? The structure of analytical passages I should know. Likewise in expository passages, that could help. And where did they come from? The actual source. Where did they pick these things from? Many people would tell you that you should read Aeon Essays every single time, which is a good thing. I mean, you've seen that in the cat. You've got passages taken from Aeon Essays. But let's do a deep dive into this and try and understand where these things are taken from. The first is articles. Now, let's understand articles like magazines, newspaper. Almost all the magazine newspaper is outside of India. Once, I believe, they've taken a passage from the Hindu. Once. Otherwise, it's New York Times, The Economist, The Guardian, The Atlantic, the Smithsonian magazine, and so on and so forth. But if you actually look at articles, if you are someone writing something in an article, let's say you're employed, you are a part of the economist team. You are writing an article. The article that you're writing is for the consumption of general public who are interested in stuff. It is not written for scholars. So article is, I would say, consuming an article would be slightly easier than maybe consuming stuff from a journal, right? So articles are good. I'm not saying that every single article is easy to read. That's not what I'm saying. But in general, it is written with the purpose of the consumption of the general public. Then you got essays. Pick up, for example, Aeon Essays. Who writes these essays in Aeon? These are all, you will actually see some prof, some scholar picking up a tough topic and making it accessible to you and me. That's Aeon Essays. Right? They are writing it not for their peers, but for us. Difficult concepts, difficult ideas, making sense to us. That's essays. Then you got this encyclopedia. No, I'm not talking about encyclopedia that my mom got when I was a kid, not the Britannica. I'm talking about Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. From there, a passage on romantics was taken. Encyclopedia of Human Geography. Encyclopedia of Emotions. This has got some heavy duty topic. If you remember the passage on topophilia taken from Encyclopedia of Human Geography, love that someone has for their land. Visual culture taken from Encyclopedia. So they have got scholarly entries like essays itself. Then you got these journals. Who write? You got journals, right? Journals are peer-to-peer. There are also journal articles. Obviously, Cat is very careful in not picking some passages which can be only understood by someone who has got a prior knowledge of the subject. But they do pick up from journal article. Then there are this book. Now, this book is not like book written by, I don't know, some fiction. No, all is a non-fiction. What kind of non-fiction? On history, philosophy. Scandalous Knowledge by Barbara Smith. You know. These are likely stuff that we may not have read. So if I look at all of these, 60% is article, 17% is book, essays are about 9%, encyclopedia about 7%, journal about 8%. But what Cat is actually trying to do is not giving an advantage for one set of person because of prior knowledge on the subject. They are making it very diverse. This data, 60% is slightly misleading, because if I look at individual year by year, you see, for example, 2017, majority article. 2018, lot of articles, few essays. 2019, which is IIM Kozhikode, article, added one encyclopedia and one book. I don't know whether you have seen the passage on colonialism in 2019, CAT 2019. That's from a book. Then 2020, something changed. 2021, you got some books. 2022, all over the place. 2023, 2024, back to articles. And last year, Kozhikode did what? Now, if I look at Lucknow papers of 2017 and 2023, both heavy on article. Calcutta paper, 2018 to 2022, heavy on articles again. IIM Kozhikode is an anomaly, but at least I could see that IIM Kozhikode is the first sort of CAT which actually started going beyond articles and essays, went into encyclopedia and book. And last year they did this. 2026 is likely going to be conducted by IIM Indore. This is what they did. Article, encyclopedia, journal, book. So, but while we are doing all of these things, we can't sit and predict a lot many things, because if I look at the 3 slots within 2020, it's the same year, same IIM. Actually, 3 different exams. Slot 1, slot 2, slot 3. If I look at all the RCs, simply look at the genres. Slot 1, humanities, social sciences, humanities, natural sciences. Slot 2, 3 social sciences. Slot 3, 3 humanities. Okay. The style. Slot 1, 3 expository. Slot 3, 3 argumentative. The source. Slot 1, 2 books, 1 journal, 1 article. Slot 2 was, I will give him book, I'll give him a journal, I'll give him encyclopedia, I'll give article. Slot 3, 2 articles. I mean, if you look at the takeaway, right, all these things, the takeaway is what? What this means? The only thing that I'm sure is I'm likely going to get, very, very likely, 500 word passages. The rest is up for grabs. But within that, the takeaway would be you have to prepare for variety, not a pattern. You cannot sit here and say that I'm uncomfortable with certain kind of topic. Please do understand something. When I say that I don't like this kind of passages, I find this kind of passage difficult to read, I find that kind of passage difficult to read. See, that is your perception of who you are today. CAT, that day will be a today, sometime in the future, but that will be a today. June 21st will be a today, sometime. July 15th will be a today. August 10th will be a today. September 11th will be a today. October 19th will be a today. At some of this today, you have to change the way you think about things. Some of the today you have to say that I'm going to deal with any kind of topics. If you sit every single day and tell yourself that I am someone who's only going to read this kind of stuff, I'm only going to solve these kind of things because I feel that I'm not good in this, I'm not good in that. If that is your feeling every single day, that is how we're going to feel on the today of the CAT or the CAT day. But some of this today you ought to change. This is what the CAT is telling us. All right, great, good. Let's look at question 438 questions. What do we encounter? If you look at question types, broadly I can categorize into 3 types. One is the global ones. Okay, you read the passage. Tell me what the main idea is. Tell me what the author is trying to do. Give me the big picture. The big picture one. And then you have this local one. Okay, go and retrieve some information from there. Nah? Bring it to me. Paragraph number 2. Just go and you go retrieve information. Then you got logical ones. Okay, you read this. Now you tell me, no? What is the assumption author is making? See, author is mentioned here. What inference can we draw from here? Oh, there is one example that author has mentioned here. Why did the author give this example? Yeah, what will the author agree with, knowing what I know about this particular author? Things like those, that is logical. So from getting the broad idea, to mining the part of the passage, to reasoning with the passage, these are 3 types of broad families. Within that, you can consider about 9 types: global, local close, local open, inference, meaning in context, author agreement, specific function, strength and weaken, application. Now, many people will name this very differently, right? It doesn't matter. But I just looked at this from a perspective of the demand of the question. Starting with global, identify the big picture. Questions like, what is the central idea of the passage? Which of the following best describe what the passage is trying to do? Which one of the following set of terms best serve the key words of the passage? What is the tone of the passage? And questions like those. You read the passage. You've understood the passage. But did you get a sense of passage as a whole? A lot of argumentative passage, whether author takes a definite stance, it's a very likely question, right? What is the central argument that is made by the author? What is the author trying to do here? Describing something, critiquing something, analyzing something. That's global. Then you have to get local question. Local is like fact-based, that you guys call. Local closed. When I say closed, what does that mean? It is retrieve one specific fact or detail stated in a particular place of the passage. For example, look at how this question is framed. According to the passage, early Chinese maps placed north at the top because, all right, that's a specific discussion. It's a specific demand. You know where it is. It's in paragraph number 2. Let me go there and pick the data out. The author claims that omitting mention of Indians who served in the Second World War is, okay, author has mentioned this here. Let me go retrieve it. According to the passage, who or what was an alienist? Alienist mentioned in paragraph number 3. Let me go retrieve it. So to deal with this kind of question, I need to have understanding of where things are broadly, right? Then you have this local question, but that is open. It's like question is framed like this. All of the following statements are true except, okay, 4 statements given in the passage. 1 is 3 is true, 1 is not true. So each of these options are good. The dealing with this kind of question is slightly different because information can be anywhere from the passage. Then you start looking at the logical one, inference. Inference is essentially a truth that you can extract from the passage. For example, if I say A is greater than B, what all truth can you extract from here? A is bigger than B, or A is greater than B. You could say, since A is greater than B, B has to be less than A. Since A is greater than B, A and B are not equal quantities, right? Implied truth. This can be closed, this can be open as well. Inference. Inference is not that you are thinking about some random thing. It is still truth, which is implied truth. But it's still the truth. So it requires, maybe, it's not a simple retrieval. You got to understand what a sentence is trying to say. Look at, for example, the framing of this question. The author believes that the new ruling class betrayed the principles of French Revolution. Which statement is a likely explanation? Why is the author saying this? Author has mentioned this, but tell me why. Or this can be inferred from the passage and so on and so forth. Then you have question number 5, meaning in context. There are words, phrases, sentences. Let's interpret this. These are not vocabulary question. The test setter is not expecting you to have prior knowledge on anything. For example, if you look at this question, the word topophobia in the passage is used. I mean, you can still use phobia, as fear. You can still use all of that. But even if you don't know what that term actually means, you've got enough evidence in the passage to answer that question. So in paragraph number 4, the phrase, the fabric of elephant society has effectively been framed is what? Okay, that's a figurative way in which author has mentioned something. But you got enough information from the passage to understand the meaning and context of the discussion that is happening in the passage. Then you got this author agreement. See, at the end of the day, what do we know about the author? We know about the author from the passage, no. Author agrees means passage agrees. Author disagree means passage disagree. So I really did not want to treat this as a separate question because the author agreement means passage agreement. But it's still, for example, things like what will the author support? What will the author oppose? Based on the extract, the author would support which one of the following actions. Author has mentioned something. From here, you can understand what the author is telling us. So I can make a logical extension and say, okay, this is what the author will agree with because this aligns with what is given in the passage. Things like those. Then you have the seventh type, which is specific function. An example is given, element in the particular passage. And the question is, why is the example given? The author mentions Tanzania's Hadza community to illustrate what? What is the purpose of the example? Not what the example is, but why the example is given. That's a specific function question. And then you have strengthen, weaken. Author has made a claim. Okay, I'm going to give you a new evidence, an hypothetical evidence. Tell me whether it attacks the claim, supports the claim, or completely bypass the claim that author is making. Which one of the following, if found to be true, would negate the main message of the passage? To answer this, we need to understand the main message of the passage, understand the assumption made by the author, and then address it. Another application question. A new external scenario is given, export author's underlying logic and apply it. Okay, for example, if you look at this question, STEM, a new food brand plans to launch a series of products in the American market. Which one of the following product plans is the most likely to be supported by the author? There's a plan that is given. But we know what author has mentioned in the passage. Let's take the logic and apply this scenario. These are the type of questions. But how many of these did we find in the cat? If you look at the 3 family, 63% is logical. Nearly 2 in 3 questions demand logical reasoning. Maybe they should change from reading comprehension to logical reasoning. Maybe that might be a better term. In fact, ZAT has it, verbal ability and logical reasoning. VALR. I think CAT is like that. It's demanding logical reasoning. If you look at the 9 question type, number 1, inference. About 100 question out of 438. Then local open question. Find out from here and there from the passage. Strength and weaken question. Then global. Then local close. Then meaning in context. Specific function. Author agreement. Application the last. Because application, to even set an application question is a very intelligent question setting. No, it requires effort to create such a question. That's what I think, that it's like 4.3%. If you look at taken over the years, you see 2017 paper. You actually have to solve 2017 paper. You will find that 2017 CAT is not that difficult. You will probably will have the feeling. There were a lot of articles. The source was articles. If you read many of these, it is something that you will understand about shopping malls, about Olympic Games, about maps being on north. Such kind of passages. On top of it, you didn't have too many logical questions. You will find 2020 paper manageable. But come 2019, and then from 29 onwards, you actually see that there is a lot of the logical questions. And this is like the 9 type of questions across years. But we'll not get deep into this. You could probably pause the video and figure out how it makes sense to you. What I actually want to pick up is a 2020 paper, our IIM Indore paper, who's likely going to conduct the CAT in 2026. Very balanced. You got all type of questions. Inference, strength and beacon, local close, global, author agreement, local open, meaning context, specific function, application, every single question type. Pretty balanced. Inference still leads, logic still leads. So what does it all mean from a question point of view? You want a reason. It's not about retrieval. This idea about I'm going to read the question first and then go to the passage and retrieve. And the mix, anything goes. So prepare to reason, not to retrieve things. And all of this is almost going, my God, what's happening? But this is what you got to understand, right? There's one thing that never changes. Comprehension. Everything you need is there in the passage. Everything you need. Whatever be the questions type, it has to be true based on the passage. So you got to comprehend the passage and look at what we saw so far, the kind of genre, the kind of style, the kind of source. You cannot be someone sitting here and saying that, look, I'm going to be very choosy in terms of what I read and how I read things. You got to be comfortable with anything. The passage that you encounter in the cat may be something that you've never read before. You don't know anything about the subject, but you have the capability to read something and make sense of it. And none of this question requires any deep understanding. The key ideas is enough. Right. So that's what I want to tell you. And hopefully now we know what cat is, cat reading comprehension is, and hopefully you'll do well in the cat. Goodbye.